Hey everyone, today it's just Luke and I, and we have a fun, very fun little game that we made up, and we're all pumped up because we just did a bunch of reels. Okay, just two, but it felt like a bunch because Luke was dancing all over the office. Were you not? Admit it, hon.
That's true. It
Mhm.
definitely was.
It was a good time. Yeah, we if you just listen to our podcast and don't follow us on social, we post our reels, our little videos of fun everywhere. So find us on Instagram and Facebook. Those are our biggest platforms. But yeah, we teach and share goodness through those little sound bites, even though they're ridiculously silly.
And short.
And short, right. But that's like the new wavelength of the brain that everyone just wants like 10 seconds. They don't want to like whole book anymore.
You know how to make those little clips have a punch.
Yeah. Yes. You're a fantastic
helpfulness.
Actor, and it's good to apply.
Who knew?
Yeah, I know, right? Benjamin Franklin play.
Back in fourth grade.
You didn't know what was coming for you.
I didn't.
No.
I couldn't have. That was a traumatic experience.
You're redeeming it now through the thousands of strangers who watch your ridiculous dancing on screen.
Yeah. Never to guess. I hated going to dances as a kid too.
Yeah, that too. Wow, you're just transformed. So that's like the message of Flourish. If you want to be able to dance on screen like a fool,
come talk to me. I can teach you how.
Healing is so available.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
It's fun.
Yes, it is. So today, this is going to be equally as fun. I hope you all enjoy it. We're going to do a game that we call brand new, hot off the press, the Modality Mash-up. And if you're watching the YouTube video, you can see I have this beautiful little chalice of little notes. Does anyone wonder what's in these notes? Well, I will tell you. We're going to just start and you will see what this game is all about. So Luke doesn't know what's in this chalice. I do. And I'm going to pick two. Okay, so here's one. I can't see them, so they're totally random. And I'm going to read them, and Luke is going to jump in on the spot, no preparation, and share how these two modalities are interconnected and how they can complement each other and crossover, where the crossover lies.
According to my experience, my knowledge and my skill set.
Yes, totally. You're not a scientist. You did not create these theories. You are a practitioner who uses them. And we use them in therapy, and they're amazing. We love them. But yes, you don't have to have like some refined answer on this.
Right. That's not the point of this. It's just to see how these things can be used in session with us.
Right. And I think a lot of people know about like one or two modalities, but they don't know the rest. So this will kind of be like time to get to know like different pathways of healing. So yeah, it'll be exciting for us to. So the first two. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Number one, neuroscience.
Okay.
My cursive is crap. Number two, EMDR.
Well, that one's kind of easy because EMDR is neuroscience, is based off of neuroscience. So EMDR is a trauma healing modality. The function of it is using bilateral stimulation, which is similar to REM sleep, where your eyes are moving back and forth. And so that side to side movement is called bilateral stimulation. And they have found that bilateral stimulation activates both sides of the brain and helps integrate traumatic events and experiences. And so the neuroscience behind it is trauma. When trauma happens, a lot of times we don't have integration of that experience. So a lot of times we have like an implicit memory, or our body remembers, but we don't have language or meaning. And so what they found out is that bilateral stimulation, when targeting a trauma neural network, helps your brain to break down the wall that was caused by the trauma, that stops your brain, the emotional side of your brain and the language side of your brain from talking to each other, so that there's a safety and an understanding and a meaning that goes along with that trauma experience. So the neuroscience shows it. So EMDR uses that neuroscience information to kind of hijack your brain to help facilitate integration and healing of traumatic experiences. And that can be one event or a series of events. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, that was a perfect pairing. That was not hard.
A good one to warm me up for.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so those are back in the chalice, and we're gonna go for 2 more, because any of the pairs, anything can match. That called in math when there's like multiple, I don't know, that's out of my wheelhouse, but multiple different scenarios we could have here.
Yes.
So now this is interesting. I just picked the exact 2.
Oh, wow.
The same ones. What are the odds of that? Probability. Okay, that's weird. We're gonna try that.
A mathematician could tell us.
Yeah, they could.
Which is outside of our wheelhouse again.
It is, yeah. Okay, so polyvagal regulation is going to be one modality that we offer right now. Oh my goodness, this one really likes my hand. EMDR.
Okay.
So how do EMDR and regulation intersect and complement one another?
Well, how I would use this and where I would see this happening is during EMDR, we're doing trauma work. So it's a lot of times there is dysregulation that comes up in the EMDR process. Which is why one reason why the first part of our packages, the 3-month package we have everybody that starts go through, is that nervous system regulation, and that follows up by EMDR. And the reason why we do that is because EMDR can be very dysregulating to our nervous system. So it's very important to understand what your nervous system's doing, what it needs, and how to meet that need. So if you get triggered or have a panic attack or anxiety attack or dissociate during EMDR, if you know polyvagal, then you can understand, okay, you're going to shut down or you're going into sympathetic states, and what your body needs there is safety. So EMDR also, how you resource before you start EMDR is you create a container in a secure place, so that when the secure place is there to help you go to a secure place to find safety, feel safe enough, regulation, peace, groundedness, and the container.
And is this the actual place? I'm being the devil's advocate, so people understand.
No, it's not an actual place. It's an imaginary place that you create. And the reason for that is also to help with the nervous system, is so it doesn't get, that secure place doesn't become tainted by people or experiences. So it helps it stay secure. And the container is a place where you take these emotions, these sensations, and if they're too overwhelming, you kind of put them in this container to address them another time and help with regulation. And you're listening to your body of, oh, we're scared of this. This is too much. So let's just take what we can't handle, put it to the side. We're acknowledging it, we're respecting it, we're honoring it, but we're just asking those sensations to take a break.
Yeah.
And so that's all for the purpose of regulating your nervous system.
So cool.
Upregulate while doing EMDR.
Awesome job.
Thank you.
You're rocking this game. I folded them all really small so that my hands, because I don't know which ones say what, but my hands seem to. So I wanted to trick my brain a little bit and try to pull out 2 different ones.
Okay.
So here we go, drum roll. IFS, there's a newbie. And which one is it gonna be with? IFS and neuroscience. Ooh, this one's a little bit tricky. I like it.
So IFS and neuroscience, that is tricky, but I'll do my best to try to help it make sense in a mashup. So IFS uses like neuroscience information of understanding trauma and what your brain does. So like when a traumatic experience happens, you adapt and learn new skills to get your needs met. And what IFS does is helps give language and externalize those adaptations to take away from the shame, and gives language to those, because in IFS you have protectors, and there's managers and firefighters. And so a lot of the firefighters kind of get a bad rap. And so they're kind of bring shame, they're like addictions, dissociation, and so a lot of those. And so neuroscience, we know that that happens, shows us when that happens. And IFS helps you understand the purpose of it. So it's not like, oh, he's just an addict. It's, oh, there's a part of him that is getting afraid. It's hard not to explain it all, see the connection without going too much into IFS. But basically there's an IFS, there's an exile, which is a wound or a fear that doesn't want to be felt. So the firefighters and the managers try to stop me from feeling insecure. And so the manager helps me have a persona or be seen as competent, so I don't feel insecure with the people around me. If I were to mess up and I felt insecure, a firefighter may come in and help me dissociate, help me maybe make somebody else feel bad, so it gets the tension off of me. Maybe it would help somebody would start drinking then, or want to get high. And so it helps, and then this is all happening neurochemically. It's seeking that dopamine hit, the adrenaline hit, shutting down. And this just helps. IFS gives a language to understand what's going on in your brain, so that, again, kind of like, I might explain this more, but like EMDR, it helps integrate those different parts. There's just different language that is used in IFS and EMDR, but the whole goal is to integrate that part into self. And self is the part of us that's unhindered by trauma, and has that positive, optimistic look. And these other protectors are kind of more hesitant and on guard. And we want those sometimes, like we've shared also with alarm systems, we want those to go off, just not all the time. So we help those protectors know that they're valuable and learn when to do their job and when not to. So that's a mouthful, but
yeah, and I think you did well. That's a really complicated thing to explain. The parts are sub-personalities of us,
right.
And that's such a unique way. That's such a unique. That's the uniqueness of IFS, is that it's not just this cognitive understanding of the neurobiology. It's like very humanizing to understand that these parts are real parts of you.
Mm-hmm.
They're considered sub-personalities or they're considered to have very distinct needs, histories, desires, and adaptations. But it's all you. It is distinct from DID, multiple personality disorder. That's not what IFS is teaching. However,
it's but DID kind of is an extreme form of IFS.
burdened parts.
And the
Yeah.
IFS is not familiar to a lot of people, so that's why I'm trying to explain it without going into spending too much time here. But you're right. Like we all use that language. Like, do you want to go eat there? Well, kind of, but not really. Like right there is language of parts. Part of me wants to go there and part of me doesn't.
Yep.
And there's a reason why part of you wants to go there and a reason why there's part it doesn't, or reason why we're a people pleaser, and there's a reason why there's a part of us that hates that we are a people pleaser.
Right.
And so the people pleasing is beneficial in one perspective, but it's also hurting us in another. And so it's identifying those parts and getting to know what their job is, what their goals are, and seeing that their goal is good, is to help us, but it's not always the best approach. And self helps that part learn what is a better approach and invites them to support self rather than being out on their own. So that one is complicated and it's less familiar, but it's really, really good, helpful. I've really enjoyed getting familiar with it.
So if you want to know more about IFS, we have an episode with Christine Dixon of the Ordinary Sacred. It's called Learning Your Parts, learning about your parts. So go ahead and check that out. She breaks that down really well for you. It is a more complicated modality at first to wrap your mind around, but once you see it, you can't unsee it in yourself and other people. It's just like, wow, these parts are at play, and it's
yeah. I'll hold that one.
You want to say so much.
So much.
We're big IFS fans. In the last few years, it's become a really meaningful modality for us, and one that we're using more and more at Flourish. So, okay, the next two, here we have two more. And the Modality Mash-up. Wow, neuroscience. This is like a joke. Okay, I'm going to take some out we've already done.
Okay. If we've done them several times.
A little redundant, yeah. Okay, so story work.
Okay.
And what else? Story work in IFS.
Right. I was thinking that this would be a good one to go with story work. So I can talk a little bit more about IFS too. So story work is the idea of there's an event that we have experienced, and a lot of times it's not processed. So story work is allowing you to write out the story and find safety now where you didn't find safety before in the event. And so here, where it's really good for IFS is in these stories, a lot of parts come up. There's a part that was scared. There's a part that was angry. There's a part that judges that little kid. There's a part that judges the person that harmed you. And so it really helps lay out, kind of bring to forefront a lot of the parts that have been activated. And also allows you to see how you have adapted based on this event. What messages did you bring up? Because you're going to learn that as you talk to the parts and what their goals are. You're going to find out how you've adapted, how have you adapted proactively with a manager, and how do you adapt reactively with a firefighter. And also what exile was created there. What emotion, what feeling, what sensation has your body said is no longer okay for you to feel? And what have you from that story, and what steps have you taken to protect the exile from being felt? So that one, that one blends well together, or mashes up, mashes well.
Mash. Yeah, great explanation. Okay, so regulation. When we say regulation, the main modality behind that is the polyvagal theory. Regulation and attachment, that's a home run right there.
That's like a glove.
Yeah, it sure is.
So attachment is the foundation of regulation. When we can't learn how to self-regulate unless we've been attached to, I've learned secure attachment. So the goal is as a baby, our parents attune and their nervous system, regulated nervous system, co-regulates our nervous system or dysregulated nervous system. And our nervous system learns that relationship is safe and then builds the tools to self-regulate based on what they've experienced, that the world is safe, people are safe, relationships are there for you. It's okay to have needs, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry, relationship is going to be there. So when there's attachment, a healthy attachment, you are able to regulate, your window of tolerance of regulation is bigger. You're able to enter into dysregulation and back into regulation a lot easier. You're just a lot more resourced. So if you find that you're a little bit more easily dysregulated, attachment is a good place to start of looking at where do I find safety in relationship, or do I find safety in relationship? So that one's very closely affected each other.
And we've kind of theorized, and this is talked about a bit out there in the world of content, of just how there's really quite the parallel between attachment styles and states. And so our take on working with people and learning ourselves is that a securely attached person generally spends most of their time in safe and social, or ventral, which is that regulated state of the polyvagal system. And then a anxiously attached person tends to spend more of their time in that sympathetic state of the polyvagal.
Theory.
And then, theory. And then the person who is more avoidantly attached tends to, again, these are just patterns, but they seem pretty significant. The person who is
avoidantly attached spends more time in shutdown.
In shutdown, and then potentially even the person who's anxiously avoidantly attached, anxious avoidant. So that's the combination of the two insecure styles, making the third insecure style. That might spend more time in freeze, which is that state, that blended state in polyvagal theory of sympathetic and shutdown. So they kind of oscillate between the two. And there's a lot of evidence that just shows that in people's how their regulation capacity works.
And like you were saying, like the anxious attached is in sympathetic, so they're fighting for connection. What do I need to do? Am I safe? Is there a threat? How can I find safety? Where do I need to go? How do I need to behave? They're always that hypervigilance. And shutdown is like, relationship is hopeless. No one's going to love me. No one's going to be there for me. No one's going to create safety. There's just no hope. And like you said, the anxious avoidance is that idea of like, I want relationship, but there's no hope that there is. And so I freeze I don't pursue and I don't invite. I just kind of like come closer, but get away from me. So I give those mixed messages. Whereas anxious is like, come. Okay, you're not gonna come. Okay, I'll go. And shutdown's like, no, just stay away from me. And because there's hopelessness.
Yep, that's so good. We really see these attachment styles as just strategies. Strategies that we've learned because of our story. You can connect all of them here because of our story, because of the neuroscience of our development, because of how we've been related to how we've been attached to. It's all connected, and it informs us of how we should be in relationship, how we should approach a relationship, and kind of what our deepest fears and concerns are with relationship. Our attachment style informs all of that, and everything behind that, our story, informs that. So
absolutely.
Okay, so on another one,
sure,
we might start getting to the point where we've done them all.
Okay. You can You can create some while they're in front of you rather than just picking them too.
Oh, I could. Okay, so attachment,
Okay.
again, we've only done attachment once, but let's see
Yep.
if it's a new one. Oh, that's the same one, attachment and regulation. So let's try attachment and story work. Very connected.
Yeah. So a lot of times your insight into attachment and why your attachment is what it is comes out through stories. And so story work, like I said, it writes down significant memories, events, hurts that have happened. And a lot of times those are a glimmer or a glimpse in behind the curtain of why you experience relationships the way you do. And so as you write a story, it gives you can also pay attention to what your body's doing. Well, maybe that might be another, bring in another modality, but can help you be curious about what your body is doing in relationship to relationships. And yes, and story work can help see how, as you work through them, see the patterns of it, of harm and attachment interruptions, and how conflict happened, and was there reconnecting after conflict, or was there conflict and it was up to the child to reconnect, or was it the parents help, or was the kid just left there unsafe and alone? So those give insight into why you have experienced relationships the way that you have.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny, you started talking about somatic, and that was one that we haven't picked yet. So let's do somatic and IFS.
Okay. I appreciate you being kind to me. Those go together.
I'm the friendly host.
Yeah. So IFS and somatics is kind of just paying attention to the sensations and the kind of like the implicit memory of your body. What is your body remembering and being aware of what's remembering in the moment. And so a lot of times parts have specific memories and respond specifically. So maybe environment maybe is loud and overwhelming, but you don't know that. But then you start pay attention, like I'm feeling something going on in my stomach, or I feel tension in my shoulders. Like, why do I feel like a tension? Why do I feel so hypervigilant? And well, there's a part there that says you have to be hypervigilant in this environment. So the information that your body is giving you then can invite you into curiosity to, what is this part here? What is this part afraid of? When did this part come along into my story? And that can help you also pay attention to more memories that your body may be feeling as you're like, oh, I feel anxious in this environment. What is that? Does that help your body remember anything more? And a lot of times it kind of, your body just walks you through patiently. And but there's also some resistance, maybe that this part, as you're being curious about it, your part's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go there. And so you feel maybe getting angry, irritable, agitated, and your body's you're noticing that your body's responding that way. So rather than getting mad at your body, it's like, okay, this part's feeling very protective. So let me back off. Let me help my body feel safe. Let me help them feel safe. And as we do this work, it's, what is it that your body needs? It could be movement, it could be sitting, it could be breathing, it could be meditation, it could be music. And just noticing that the somatic expression is speaking for this part.
Yes.
And if you can be curious about it and not shame your body or be upset with your body how it's responding, you can talk to this part, and the part just wants to be heard. And so if you can notice, okay, it's reasonable that you're responding this way. Can you help me understand why you're responding this way? And it can give you insight to a lot of other modalities.
So much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is remarkable. And Richard Schwartz, the founder of IFF, he says that so many symptoms, so many physical bodily symptoms are distinct, definable, like knowable parts.
Yep.
And I mean, that would just, I'm just thinking about what that would sound like to like mainstream medicine. That would just be like, what the hell? But truly in application and people's like lived experience, this is so real. And my healing and recovery process from chronic illness with over 70 plus symptoms, I can't even articulate how many times different symptoms would come up, and it would not be about that body system at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would have nothing to do with the skeletal system or the endocrine system or the nervous, nervous system is kind of complicated because it would have something to do with the nervous system that we're speaking of. The symptom that it presented, the area of the body, it actually didn't have to do with that area of the body. Mm-hmm. Like as in that area was breaking down or diseased or something.
Right.
It was an opportunity for a part to communicate when it doesn't have language. And if you don't have access to these parts, they use the body. Yep. And the body will be the vessel. Mm-hmm. It is a willing vessel to bring so much physical torment to us. But the reason is not to torment. I'm saying that laughingly. Yeah. I'm saying that because I understand it's very hard to realize how much your body's caused, how much suffering, but really it's just a vessel to be a voice for these parts.
Yeah. And Gabor Mate, it's what you're just talking about is what Gabor Mate talks about in his book, When the Body Says No. Like our body's always giving us messages when we're infants, but our environment teaches us to either honor that message or to dishonor it. And so the more we dishonor those messages, the more we have to create parts, the more the parts have to become more adaptive to eventually it's like, hey, we need to pay attention to this and heal or get your needs met. And it will find a way to, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, will find a way to help you get your needs met.
Yep.
Adaptively.
Ooh, so much good stuff. Okay, so are there any other combinations that you want to touch on before we go? I know you probably don't even remember all the ones we did.
Right. I mean, is there another one that you want to put with attachment? I think we only did that once. Okay.
Yeah. What we did attachment with regulation. Oh, we did attachment with story work. Yeah, I think the neuroscience and attachment would be really cool. I think that's a place that you really love and have loved for a long time.
So yeah, attachment and neuroscience. So again, this goes back to childhood, infancy. Your body, your brain is neurocepting. Where is safety? And where is there a lack of safety? Where is there a threat? And so it's looking for cues of safety from the caregivers, whether it's verbally, whether it's comforting, whether it's getting their needs met with food. Adam Young says it's not about always carrying the child, it's about carrying the child when the child needs to be carried and putting down the child when the child wants to be put down. So it's helping a child learn individuation and where safety is and where threat is, and that with secure attachment, that if there's threat, there's somebody that will be there with you to help you through it. If there's emotions or hard emotions or disappointment, you don't have to do this alone. But if there's not healthy attachment, then the neuroscience says, okay, then we have to adapt. Yeah. We have to find another way to survive. Relationships aren't going to do it, or relationships are only going to do it through A, B, C, and D. And so let's through an anxious attachment, make sure we hit A, B, C, or D, or through avoidant attachment, we can't depend on them, so we have to rely on ourselves. So we have to be self-sufficient, independent, and that's all based on, how our brains were wired to find regulation through relationship or without relationship.
Yeah, and I think it's so powerful to realize how vulnerable humans are without connection. Like, we are not, even in the Western society that feels we're so individualistic.
Yeah.
Like, we are profoundly in need of one another.
Yeah.
It is another human's body and nervous system that creates your neurodevelopment. 100%. There's no other way around it. There's no, the kids, the rare stories where they find children that were raised apart from humans, the very essence of what it is to be human is not there. It is, our brains are completely designed to be formed through healthy relationship. And so those first few years, and then even, all of childhood, but those first few years are super important. And, the issue that the 7-year-old man is facing is not about the 7-year-old man. It's about the little child. And it's like, people may assume that's over, just being over dramatic about that, the importance of that, but it's truly the neuroscience. The field of interpersonal neurobiology has just exploded in the last couple decades. And it's so remarkable how much we were made to need each other. And you cannot understate that part of development.
And what you were just saying complements what I was saying, and I want to touch on it again, is as we grow up, like the attachment wires our neurobiology, which affects our neuroception of how we interact with people. Like you said, a 7-year-old man can look at somebody and say, oh, that person's not safe. It's not because that person's not safe, it's because his story and his experience has said that facial expression, that tone of voice, that environment has not been safe for you. So we need to respond this way. So you're touching on mind mapping. So because our brains have to respond so quickly, neuroception happens in 0.05 seconds. So when you walk into a room before anybody says anything, you neurocept whether that person's being safe, is going to be safe. And that's based on your experience with your caregivers or other people. So since our bodies have to respond that quickly, it doesn't take every situation at face value. It takes every situation and says, how, based on what we've experienced, what does it feel similar to? And that's how we're going to engage. That's how we feel like we can, that's where our attachment is. It's not safe, okay, we're not attaching. It's maladaptive for our social engagement network to be turned on when our bodies have experienced that it's not safe here. And that all comes from attachment and how attachment wires our neural networking. And then we just use that neural networking to predict and find and know how to respond in other situations. And so
and that was surprising to us, that the brain is predictive versus responsive. Like, I always assumed the brain just responded to each situation at face value, but the brain actually is a predictive organ, and that's saves it so much energy if it can just predict what it needs to do. It saves so much brain power, and oftentimes those predictions are actually very like, we call it faulty neuroception. We don't call it that. It's called that. They're not accurate to the situation, but it's accurate to the story that your neurology has been formed in the environment.
I'll bring IFS in here.
Okay.
Because I see this happening a lot in like marriages, is there's a lot of misses in marriages. And it's like, I said this, so I had this tone, like I wanted to connect. But because there was a part in the let's say the husband that says, when you have this tone of voice, or when they criticize you like this is not safe. So we need to react. Like a firefighter may come out and say, you're being a jerk, get away from me. I can't believe you're doing this to me.
Yeah.
And there's a huge miss there, not because they don't love each other, but because a misunderstanding of attachment, the neuroscience, and the unawareness, the non-awareness of the part that just became activated. Like the manager couldn't help that guy not feel criticized. So a firefighter had to come out and say, you're the problem, it's not me, which creates a small misunderstanding to a big fight hurt, all because the prediction was she's going to attack you based on our previous experiences with people like in this situation. And so the faulty neuroception isn't faulty because it's broken, it's faulty because it's based on abusive situations, and it doesn't take each relationship at face value. It takes it based on previous experiences and brings that information into there. That's why Adam Young says, without doing your work, you never experience the present as the present, but only through the lens of the past experiences.
Yep.
Because we're never actually engaging with the present if we're not dealing with it. We have parts that are coming in, we have neuroscience that is interacting, we have attachment that's coming into it, we have dysregulation, polyvagal aspects coming into it. Yeah.
Which is why the moral of the modality mashup story is do that work.
Yeah.
Do your work. There's such an invitation to bring awareness to your body, your lived experience, your felt sense, your story through doing inner work. And hopefully these modalities have, and kind of mashing them up and seeing how they play together has been insightful for you as listeners, and maybe even intriguing for different things that you might want to pursue in the future for ways that might really connect, because some modalities just connect like so well with some people, and other people not so much, but they really love another one.
Yeah.
And yeah, just that encouragement that
Absolutely.
healing is available.
And what I love about this work is there is not one way to do the work.
Right.
Like,
right.
Some people might want to do EMDR and not really know about their parts. Or some learning about their parts makes them want to do EMDR. Some of them, and you don't have to do all of them. Like some people can just through regulation can heal a lot of somatic expressions. And just knowing that there's not just talk therapy, there's a place for talk therapy, and that can be very helpful. But that isn't just what counseling is, talk therapy. There's also a lot of other very interactive, experiential modalities that we use, and use different ones to address different traumas, different hurt wounds, and it's definitely not boring.
It's definitely not boring. Well, we're gonna give you a final grade on your
Towards the end, I was like, what one am I talking about?
Which one are we giving on? It's funny, this idea came because this is like what Luke and I do for fun in our free time, because we're total geeks, brain geeks, and just want to understand it all. And like when we learn something new, we always, it's what humans do. You take what you know to help you understand what is new. Yeah. And so this is kind of a natural, this mashup.
I always do this.
Yes, this is continual.
Like, hey, I see a part there that's dysregulating me, that's touching on my attachment, and I'm feeling my somatic expression over here. That's life in the house with Luke and Lauren.
It's true. But hopefully you don't feel the need to master all of these things to become a healthy person. You do not. This is just our field.
Yeah.
But bringing that inner curiosity to you, who you are as a person in your inner world, is just a powerful way to love yourself and to move forward. on your healing wherever you are.
Absolutely.
So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. Maybe we'll have Bethany on sometime and she can do it with us. But it was really fun. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next episode.